Welcome to How to Let Go of a Narcissist, where healing journeys and tools to help survivors are the conversation and the point of our discussion. I'm your host, Marv Curtis, and today I'm honored to have Niecy with us as our guest. She's found her way through a difficult experience and has some wonderful insights that she's going to share with us today. Welcome, Niecy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Coach Marv.
You're so welcome. Can you share a little bit about yourself and what led you to this point in your healing journey?
Sure. So I am a 50-year-old African American woman. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey, born and raised. And I was born into a family of dysfunction, to say the least. I would say that I guess things started with my parents. Well, my mom was very emotionally, psychologically abusive, neglectful. My dad was in and out of prison I think all of my childhood, honestly. And I think having such a toxic upbringing, I find myself struggling and have struggled, I should say, in intimate personal relationships. So I wanted to try something new. And so I found you. So, of course, I'm sure, like most people, I've done therapy. And as you know, Coach Marv, I am a therapist. And, I meditate. I've tried just about everything and I wanted to try something new. And so that kind of led me to you. But yeah, I feel like I have an extensive history with trauma and still some childhood wounds that have been running my life this long. And I want them not to run my life anymore. I
Right.
guess to keep it in fifth grade terms.
I get it. So, as a child, as you were experiencing this with your parents, kids go into survival mode like anybody else, the fight, flight, freeze response. What was your main strategy for trying to manage the uncertainty in your life as a child?
Great question. Based on what I've learned recently, Coach Marv, I would say that my response has been free to freeze. And I noticed that even in, not as traumatic experiences, that's kind of like my go-to is like I freeze. And then I started paying more attention and kind of reflecting on my past. And I'm like, wow, I guess that has always been my response to something traumatic.
Hmm. Oftentimes, especially as small children where you can't run away, you can't fight back, you also will try and please the person who's abusing you. Of course, your parents, whether we're saying neglect or just the uncertainty that you experience as a child. Did you find yourself going into the people pleasing mode much?
Definitely. It's interesting that I used to pride myself on being like a funny kid, and I think when we previously had in our previous conversation, I told you that I was a charismatic kid. But I also learned that the part of me using humor was also to please and try to make everybody comfortable. Yeah, and I would definitely say even into adulthood for sure that I didn't think that I was much of a people pleaser until I started really analyzing my relationships and like how I interact with people and being unwilling or uncomfortable with saying no or placing like some real firm boundaries on things.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So, was there a specific moment or realization that made you decide you wanted to change or be somebody different?
I think in the back of my mind, I always knew. I will say that I always had the fighter in me. Like I wasn't so much of a, and I said this to you before. Yes, I was definitely abused, but I always knew what was happening and I always had something in me that knew better and that I was still going to fight through it. And I think that even leading to meeting you, like this is still part of my fighting back, taking care of myself, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question right, but yeah.
Well, let me come at this a different way. Oftentimes, people who get into that kind of a situation will put other people first. So it's not just people pleasing, it's kind of deferring your own care in favor of somebody else. Do you find yourself putting yourself last in terms of self care?
In relationships, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, their needs tend to sort of railroad mine.
Think about safety for just a minute and being able to say no, boundary setting, as we might say. That's really dependent so much on your intuition and your sense of when things aren't right. Tell me a little bit about how you came to be aware of your intuitive capability and knowing when things were working or when they weren't.
Wow. Coach Marv, you know what's crazy? When I was a kid, I used to think that I had this gift of knowing whether somebody was full of shit or not. And of course, I didn't have the language to describe it back then. And you asking me that now, I will say that I always felt like I knew when something was off. And I used to honestly think it was a gift when I was a kid. But I could see through people.
Yeah.
And I think I abandoned that in relationships.
And that sort of brings us back to people pleasing. I mean, I'm sort of leading here a little bit, but abandoning that and your own safety, is that part of people pleasing or is that something else?
Yeah, because that would be, yeah, that's putting them first so that they won't, I guess whatever my fear is, if they're gonna leave, or if not wanting them to be uncomfortable or not disappoint them, whatever. And it's probably a mixed bag, but all of that is that I probably was avoiding doing that. And so I would, give them what I think they wanted, I guess.
Yeah. So bring us up to date on your breakthrough strategies. How do you say no nowadays?
So now I'm saying no, and I'm making it a complete sentence.
Give me an example.
Wow. So, interestingly enough, there was a gentleman who, I'm calling him a gentleman, but I thought he was a jerk off. He did some work for me in a property that I have. He changed the price once he got there, and I'm kind of in a crunch because I have a tenant that's going to be moving in pretty soon. So I went ahead and I gave him the extra, even though the extra money that he wanted while he was there, even though we talked about the job and doing pictures and he kind of saw what it was and then changed the price. But okay, I gave him the extra money. So then there was something else that needed to be done. And he tried to change the price on me again. And he's like, so you don't want, I said, well, you know what? Never mind. I'm good. And he said, so you don't want the work done? And I said, no. And even though that might not sound significant to somebody else who may be listening, it's a big deal for me to stand by, like changing my mind, especially when, like I said, I need to get stuff done like now because I have somebody coming in. So I also found like I can be loose with my boundaries when like I think I have a need met. Like I need these people to be moving in soon and for everything to be done. But I said no and I stood by it. And I didn't say no because da 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 da. I just said no. And I said, sit with that no. And I did.
And what did he do? How did he react to that?
He just said, okay,
Done and done.
done and done. Right. And I still need the work done.
Well, I wonder if him knowing that you needed it quickly, he thought maybe he had a little leverage on you.
Yes. 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 Because he definitely knew my date. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
might not mention that next time, eh?
Right. Right. Right.
So, what is the biggest challenge you've faced during your process of kind of learning how to care for yourself first and recognize the promptings of your intuition, or as I like to call it, listening to your body?
Because I know that I already had the intuition obviously is God given and I feel it. I think the most challenging part for me is verbalizing and doing something about it. Like the saying no, right? I think I get stuck in the freeze, like when I see something's wrong, maybe I don't do anything about it, but I'm acknowledging that it might be wrong. But I think now I'm taking the leap to actually verbalize, and I think I still did that, but I'm not sure if I was as consistent. But now I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to do something about it,
Yeah.
because I realize when I don't, what happens. And so I can only blame others, but so much. Like, I have to do my part to take care of myself too.
Right. Sometimes that's hard to know what to do
Yeah.
and how to do it. So, if you don't mind my asking, being a therapist and being as aware as you are, what prompted you to call me? What was going on in your life that said, I need a little help?
Yeah, great question, Coach Marv. It's I love therapy. Let me just say that, and I've been in the field for so many years, but I do think it has its limitations. I think you still have to use interventions that tap into the trauma, and I believe in that. So that would be a philosophy that, I mean, that's a philosophy that I practice. I feel like you still have to do something. You can do processing all day. You can, there's the only but so many ways you can change the narrative and slice it and dice it. But I think that there's some things that need to be done for your body, because your body locks in the experience. And that's just a personal philosophy. I truly believe that. And I believe it because you can feel it. Like we talked about, where do I feel when I was talking about the trauma bond? I know that I always feel it in my stomach.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. So how do I get to release that? And so I started searching, and I somehow came across you. Or you found me. How about that?
We found each other.
There we go. There we go.
So, just so I'm sure people are wondering what happened. So we worked together and we went through a tapping process to try and access the feeling that you were having in your stomach. What happened for you? Describe the process and the outcome
Well, I
for
love
your.
that.
I'm speaking specifically about your stomach.
Okay. So well, through your coaching, you encouraged me to visualize what my trauma, or where it was in my body. That was the first thing. So we identified where it was in my body. I acknowledged that it was in my stomach. I always felt that it was in my stomach. And then we gave it a color. You asked me to give it a color. I gave it a color, which was green. And then you asked me to move it outside of my body. I wind up putting it on my right side, outside of my body. It was a spinning ball, and we made the ball large. And then I think I forget the entire process, but yeah, then it became smaller, and then it changed to a white color, right? and
Mhm.
and you encourage me at any time that I'm feeling that angst, I guess, in my stomach, to go into like the white ball.
And what effect did that have on your stomach?
It released the tension. I definitely felt like I didn't feel as tight.
Good.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a week or so since we worked on that. What's
Mhm.
the 1 week report? Are you still feeling that relief?
I am feeling that relief. And the visualization of the ball really helps, because now I can use that for pretty much anything, not even something as deep as my trauma, but any kind of frustration that I may be having, if when I feel it in my stomach.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't feel like I had since then. If I'm paying attention, I haven't felt as I haven't felt the stress as much in my stomach.
yeah,
So maybe that helped it just even feel lighter. I mean, I'm not saying I don't get stressed, but it's
sure.
not as intense.
Stress is part of life. So, for those who may not know, we did some visualization, and the purpose behind that is to acknowledge that the brain makes some mistakes about what we're experiencing in life. And sometimes the trauma bond, which is an emotional attachment to somebody else, is really overpowering. And it's very helpful to recognize that trauma does live physically in your body. And by visualizing it and going through some of these releasing processes, we can actually retrain your brain to experience life in a different way. We also did some tapping where we went through some of the experiences that you were having. Tell a little bit about how that worked for you.
Yeah, it was great. I had known about tapping before, but not I haven't yeah, obviously never really done it. But yeah, I heard that it worked. I wasn't really sure. Even coming into the session with you, I was still skeptical. I think at one point I remember saying that I hope this works. But yeah, it was fantastic listening to you and kind of repeating what you were saying and tapping things in to like to make it, I guess, to affirm it in a sense.
Yeah,
I think was fantastic, along with the visualization.
right. So, as we're going through this in your own particular life, the things that were going on that caused you to reach out in the first place, when that was going on for you before we got together, how did you keep moving forward when things got tough? I mean, there's a lot of people listening who are experiencing real difficulties in their life. What kept you going?
I'm not I'm not a quitter. I think I'm just that person, Coach Marv. Just like I sought out your coaching, it's just something in me, like I'm always going to try to figure out a way, you know? And I don't know if I can't say that's in everybody. You know, I know some people seem hopeless at times. I just think taking one step at a time toward the goal that you want. And for me, that's always like looking for something else that may work, talking to somebody else about it, you know? So I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but that's just something that is always in me. And I'm a former athlete too. So, you know, I have that certain level of aggression in me,
Yeah,
that go get itness a little bit. So yeah. So I won't, I'm, even though I feel like there are times that I want to give up, I rest and I don't give up. I notice that I don't give up.
and how does meditation play into this for you?
Well, I feel like, you know, I think we're all in the DSM somewhere. And I would say that my stuff aligns more with anxiety. I noticed that. So I know that meditation is great for reducing anxiousness, and it does. So for me, it helps me to stay somewhat centered throughout the day. I need to practice throughout the day. I really don't. I usually do it in the morning, but it helps me to stay grounded.
Yeah,
I don't feel as when things are happening, you know, my head starts to spin, but I don't feel as like I got to do something or I'm, you know, I'm panicking.
right. So, if you could go back and look at your life and the experiences you've had in survival mode, that's the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is the people pleasing part. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice during some of those hardest moments that you had, what would that advice be?
Mm, wow. I would advise myself to keep on pushing through, taking it one step at a time. Mm, to remember who I am. I would say the biggest thing is to just take it one step at a time and to not give up and to keep on, even if it's small steps, to take the step anyway.
So, was that just innate? I mean, as a small child, especially, and adolescent, you had some really difficult challenges to face with your parents. And oftentimes that really shuts a person down because these are the people you're supposed to be able to trust and rely on. And you kind of had to break away. Did you just intuitively know I just got to keep pressing? Did you despair at any point, or did you just, you got to do it?
Well, no, you know what and I think that this is the truth for most people. Like you love the people that are hurting you. And not every moment is bad with those people. And that is where I guess the trauma bond is built, right? Because it's like those same people you have great times with, you can laugh with or smile with, or they seem happy, and then something happens, and those same people are abusive. or neglectful or abandon you.
Yeah.
And so, of course, during those moments, I'm sad, I'm lonely. But I think that's where the fawning comes in, because now I'm hopeful that things will be okay again. And then at some point, they seem okay again. And then
Hmm.
that just becomes the pattern that you're living in. And I guess at some point, you also think that this is just how it's supposed to be, because this is what I was born into. So this is what family does, until you learn that no, like this is screwing me up. Like this is not healthy, or this is hurting me. And then 50, realizing that, like, wait a minute, like this is really intense. Like I'm repeating the same patterns that I was used to as a kid.
Well, the body searches for familiarity. And over time, familiarity begins to feel safe. And if what's familiar to you is that kind of neglectful or fawning relationship, it can carry on for years and years and years. What finally got you to say, hey, wait a minute, been doing the same pattern over and over. I got to stop. What kind of turned the corner for you?
The last relationship I was in, she pretty much abandoned me. At least I felt like she abandoned me when my dog passed away. There was no, but let me say, there was many red flags throughout the relationship. She was emotionally unavailable like my mom, abusive in ways like my mom. So there was still that. But I guess for whatever reason, the last straw was my dog was everything. I don't have any children, and I had my dog since she was 6 months. And anybody who knows me knows how important Cookie was to me. So the one person that I thought should have been front and center, even though our relationship wasn't great, the expectation still was that she would be there, and she wasn't. She was very distant. Like, she sent me an edible arrangement, and it's like, no, like, you need to be present. Like, anybody who knows me knows, like, this dog was she was my child.
Yeah.
So my expectations were too high for her, and then I said, you know what, you need more of this, or are you ready to get serious, because you can't keep having these kind of people in your life. And I just walked away, not with an explanation. I was ready to do the work after I saw that this is what I was welcoming. Like, this shit is what I was welcoming.
Yeah.
So that, like, just imagine if it were my kid, if it really were a human. It didn't have to be a human being. It was something important to me. For you to not be there said a lot about who you were. And then I said, okay, this is who she is. I got to do something about this, because this is my stuff. This ain't even about her at this point. This is my stuff.
Yeah.
And so here I am with you.
So at what point in that relationship did you connect the dots to the pattern that you had with your mother and that she was repeating that pattern?
The crazy part is, I think that I always knew. And we were together almost 4 years. And I kept saying that I think I'm attracted, or I'm with her to work through something. I mean, this is the awareness of somebody who helps other people for a living. So
Yeah.
it's like, it was weird, and that's how powerful, like, subconscious patterns are. Because I'm thinking that, like, I'm okay, or like I'm healthy, right?
Yeah.
Um, but still, I'm in this toxic relationship with all my credentials with this person. So credentials don't matter, titles don't matter, subconscious patterns matter. Because I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And that may have lessened some of the pain at times, because I'm like, I know I got this isn't healthy, this isn't right, and I'm going to break out of it. But still, I was in it. Still, I was hopeful that it could, like,
Powerful.
you know what I mean? Like, it's so powerful. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was toxic. I knew that I didn't deserve that. There was something in me like, you deserve so much more. But I was still I felt trapped. I felt like, from my gut, like there was, and I told you this before, I felt like there was this something in my gut tying to this person that I couldn't break. And it
Yeah.
made me angry, like almost like God was doing it, like, you have to stay with this person. That's how
That's
I
hard.
felt.
That's hard to overcome when you feel like there's an outside power that's compelling you. And often that's associated with your desire to help. You wouldn't be doing the work that you do if you didn't get satisfaction from helping other people. And if you think somebody's been put into your life for you to help, it also makes it hard to leave. And that happens with a lot of people that I talk to is they feel like, well, if I could just love him enough or love her enough, she'll be able to change. That's kind of my calling, and I'm willing to make some sacrifice to fulfill that calling. But actually, you're never called to hurt yourself.
Right. Wow.
Well, so for the people that are listening, many of the people who are listening have gone through relationships where their head brain, their logic says, this isn't right. You got to get out of here. But their emotional brain, their heart is saying, but maybe she'll change. Maybe he'll change. Or if I'm good enough, or if I do something, things will work out. If there was one message you could leave for people who are still kind of stuck between wanting to go and wanting to stay, what would your message be?
Break free.
That's direct and simple.
And it's not easy. I don't know what it takes. You know, the sad part, Coach Marv, is that I feel like the tolerance for people like us is so high that I felt like I went through all of that crap for almost 4 years to have my dog die, to finally say, you know, enough's enough. Now, I've heard other stories of people, you know, whether it was physical abuse or whether it was, you know, them being taken advantage of financially. So I don't know what everybody else's threshold is, but it's almost like, you know, oh man, I mean, it's tough. It's tough because we really do sit through a lot of crap. And I don't know what it would take for somebody else to say, okay, this is the bottom line. That was
Right.
my bottom line, but what is somebody else's bottom line? I don't know, you know, but I know that for me that's what it was, and it was enough for me to say, okay, this person's emotionally screwed, and I got to this is not about them anymore. This is about me and what I want in my life.
Powerful. It is about you, and you have a right to take care of yourself. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom and insight. I know this will help many, many people who are listening.
I hope so. Thank you, Coach Marv.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.